Wacky when we make the window narrow. It seems to wrap onto the next line a little too easily. And that looks really bad when it does. How can we deal with that? We can make the icons get smaller. We can make them their size basically a function of the width of the thing. Make them a percentage of the width. They could potentially get unusably small. They have an awful lot of padding on them. Kind of a ridiculous amount of padding. So we could reduce the padding. That would buy us a little more. What if, let's see, we've got flick name here. What if we say white space, no wrap. Tell it to never go on to the next line. And then text overflow ellipsis. Let's see if that's enough. Let's see. If it works, we'll find out. Not really working. It's just making everything else go because we don't have no wrap on that as well. So would no wrap do it on the actions? Let's see. Would I have to explicitly set their width? Oops, thanks. Syntax highlighting gave me a clue. Now what's happening? Oh man, look at that. That's terrible. So the width is just getting out of control on the parent element, really. So I don't want to explicitly set the width on this, really. So what is the width of its parent? On the, not the UL, this thing. What does MediaMate actually set it to? 66.6667%, but that's only for medium. The easiest way might honestly be to explicitly set the width, even though that's a little more brittle than our automatic flexbox calculations. So if we see how big this rascal is, this button group happens to be about 222 pixels. Let's see if we set flick name max width to 100% of its parent calc. 100% minus 220 isn't quite enough because there's some padding on the left and right too. I'm just going to start with 240 pixels. See how that does. Calc 100% minus 240 pixels. See what that gets us. Now it no longer runs over, but my overflow is not there. So on, yep. So let's see if we say overflow hidden. Refresh. Now it does not go over underneath, and you see there's an ellipsis there. Now, there's not quite room for that. So maybe 250? Yeah, it does not have margin, so it's always going to hug the right there. So let's give flick name a right margin right of about 1 rim. Let's not forget our semicolon. That's better. And if there is room, it still fits, since we made it a calculation based on the width. That's pretty decent. If we wanted to make sure that, like, if you hover over it, you still see the full name, we could add a title. So you could say, when you set the flick name in render list item, which we do right here, we could also say dot set attribute title to the flick name. That doesn't necessarily exist for the sake of tooltips, but most browsers do show one. So if we hover over it, there it is. Really, really small. Not bad. If we did want to see about a little less padding on these, you can inspect that, see how much there is. That would be on the button itself. Button padding 0.85 on top and bottom, 1 on left and right. And that is just the class button. So if we say a button that is inside actions, that will be a more specific rule. And that's the class button that I'm overriding. So let's say padding. And instead of this, we could take 0.2 off each. Change this to 0.65 and this to 0.8. Should keep things centered correctly. Refresh. All right, that's pretty good. And now they're not hugging the right. Now we could make our calculation a bit less than that. See, I don't know if it saved us 50 pixels. Let's find out. That's actually about right. Cool. Let's make the padding a little less on those. Makes the icons actually take up more of the button too. Cool. Ship it. Tweak. Flick style. And for funsies, you could do more to enhance this thing. I don't think you need to see me add a year field or something like that. I think everybody did it. You could try talking to an API to get the posters or something. There's a movie API out there called themoviedb.org. You have to sign up for an API key for that. You're going to learn more about APIs tomorrow in our day after tomorrow, or sometime. You're going to learn about APIs. Tomorrow will be the first React component and the next 5 or so React components. So, do you have an idea for specific homework or just practice, be excellent to each other, that kind of thing? This thing's already pretty special. Using the tricks you've learned. Yeah, make a new thing from scratch using some of these tricks. I like that one. Is there anything that we can do besides building lists necessarily? So let's think about this. What is Slack? It's a list of messages. Yeah. You have channels too, but fundamentally it's a list of messages. It just has multiple users. What's Twitter? It's a list of tweets. What's Evernote? It's a list of notes. So many of the apps we use are fundamentally just a list of things that you click and then edit. Now here we're editing them in place, but another thing we could have done was have a form that only shows up when you click edit, or have like have the list along a left pane, and then on the right pane we have a great big form. And when you click on one of them, it opens up over there. And that makes it a little more obvious that you can use this trick to make a whole lot of different apps, because they're all kind of fundamentally lists. Not all, but a great many of them. Sometimes there's just additional features. For example, like Slack, we have channels, right? So the messages are all categorized by something. If we were to do that to this, we could separate movies he's been in and TV shows he's been in. And that's not so different from channels. And all you'd really have to do is add another field to each flick saying which of those categories it's in. Then have some way to find all the unique values for that and list them on the side, something like that.
Is that like a categories to something? Have them, then list differently. So like you have an input form to add new stuff, and then depending on what categories, and so input, and then also an input for like what category it is, and then have it show up in different lists, sort of like categories.
2 different lists. I actually like that. Let's make that the homework. Find some way to categorize things. And you could do it to this app, or you could make a new app, like a Slack clone, a one-user Slack clone. We have a list of messages and a list of channels. Yeah, note to self. So you could have, it could be Evernote, and you have your notes, and you have notebooks to sort them all. Something like that. Cool. All right. Go in peace.